What's up guys, welcome to Film and TV Reviews, and today I'm reviewing House of Cards Season 6, the final season. And wow, was it bad. This is a really bad season, really disappointing end to the show, because, well, there's a lot of reasons why this show wasn't very good. So I'm going to get into what was good about it first, because there's not much. Acting. The acting's brilliant across the board. Just like all the previous seasons, well cast, really good performances all around. Robin Wright steps up to be the main character this time. She does her best, but it's not good enough, quite frankly. And I think it's more to do with the writing, why a lot of these characters don't quite pop the way they should. The other good thing is the sets. The sets this time are really, I want to say, hyper realistic. They're not doing anything lavish or exciting or different. The problem with that is that they don't visually pop. It's not a pretty show. It's not a good show that you want to sink your eyes into and spot all the little details. It's just kind of what you expect. And that's a good thing because it helps with the immersion into that universe. And that's all the good things I've got to say about this season because it's bad. So to get into why this is bad, this is a final season. It's only 8 episodes long, so it's the shortest season of House of Cards. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is not in this season at all, and rightfully so, he should not be in this season. That being said, it's almost as if he is in the season because the characters are constantly talking about him, they're constantly referring to him. The whole narrative of this season is about what happened to him. They put so much attention on that character that it feels like there's a gaping hole that we're missing. It's not a spoiler to say that Kevin Spacey's character was killed off between this season and the last season. This season is all about how that happened and why that happened. And it's made very clear pretty early on why that happened. Basically, he made a dodgy deal with some people and they weren't happy. That's very early in the first episode, not a spoiler. The problem is that Kevin Spacey's character was the main character in the show, the main villain in the show, and the main thrust of the narrative. So when you remove him from this show, you end up having a narrative with no end goal, no forward momentum. You've got to reinvent yourself, you've got to reorganize, shift things around. And the problem is that Robin Wright's character, Claire, is now in the lead role, a role which she was never meant to inhabit. They've adjusted the story, but they haven't done a good job of it because the story now feels out of place from the rest of the show altogether. It's never clear if we're meant to like Claire or hate Claire. It's never clear if she's the good guy or good girl or bad guy or bad girl. And that's a problem. With Kevin Spacey, we always knew he was a villain, but we kind of liked him. With Claire, there's just too much ambiguity around whether we're supposed to like her or not. As the final season, you expect some sort of resolution, you expect some sort of answers. The problem is that this season develops so many storylines, particularly with Russia and Lars Mikkelsen's Russian president character. And then there's the whole journalism side of things where they're trying to take down the presidency and all that lot. But they're never resolved. You get no clear, definitive answers on any of these things. And some of the things that you do get answers on, including Kevin Spacey's character's absence and death, they're completely unsatisfying and anticlimactic. So if you're watching this show wanting to see what happens, you're probably going to finish watching this show still wondering what happens. And that's a big problem. I do not like that. Now, on the other hand, there are TV shows where it leaves things up for interpretation. This doesn't do that. It just leaves it open. There's very little interpretation because so much of the show is about guessing or trying to predict what the characters are going to do next, and there's always twists and turns, so you can't possibly predict what's going to happen next. For the most part, this has been a very character-driven show, and this season's no different. The problem is that when you get rid of the most interesting, most defined character in the show, you're left with all the characters that were supposed to be small little bits here and there. But Robin Wright's character and Michael Kelly have had to step it up. And they do a good job acting-wise, but the writing hasn't jumped up with them. They're still these side characters. They're just getting more time that they probably shouldn't have been getting. and that's a problem. All the characters in the show simply aren't that interesting. They're a little dull, they're a little bland at times. It's no fault of the actors, it is the writing. Yeah, that's the problem. And I get it, the writers had to start again after they already began production, so you have to give them some leeway on this. They've probably done better than what you probably expected them to do. So that's House of Cards Season 6, the final season. It's not good. I don't recommend it. Quite frankly, it kind of ruins the whole show for me. Kevin Spacey should be gone. I completely understand that. But they've put way too much focus on this season being about his character, even though his character's not there. It feels like there's just a gaping hole. There's a presence that's just not being handled very well. It constantly feels like they're teasing something, but you never get the answers that you want. The resolution of this show, the ending of this show is really disappointing. It's not satisfying at all. You get no answers, no clear cut, this is what happens, this is how it ends. Yeah, that's disappointing, I'm sorry to say. But I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @_Grant Burton. I've got other reviews coming out. I've done other reviews. I've got other shows. I've got a weekly news show. Go check that out. Subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate any support you want to give me. But that's all I've got for this particular episode. So thanks for watching.